You know that feeling, right? You're talking with someone you love, and a tiny little disagreement just explodes into this massive fight. Suddenly, you're saying things you don't mean, you feel totally out of control, and later you're thinking, how did we even get here? It's confusing, and honestly, it's painful.
So, what is actually happening in those moments? How do we go from being loving partners to, well, feeling like enemies in the blink of an eye? It's one of the biggest mysteries in relationships, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack here.
And let me give you a hint. It has almost nothing to do with your willpower, how much you love the other person, or even what you're arguing about. The real culprit is a deep, ancient survival instinct that's hardwired into your biology. So let's get into it.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to identify this invisible enemy in our relationships. Then we'll look at what's really going on inside your body and your brain during a fight. And then the good stuff, a super powerful way to reset in the moment and how to build up your own resilience so this happens way less often. All right, first things first, let's put a name to this thing. What is this hidden force that just completely derails our most important conversations? Researchers have a name for it: flooding. Now, the most important word in that definition is physiological. This isn't just you getting angry. This is your body's internal circuit breaker tripping because it's completely overloaded. It gets so revved up that the logical, problem-solving part of your brain just shuts down. It goes offline. And this is the absolute core of the issue. Your body, with its ancient programming, literally cannot tell the difference between a real life-or-death threat, like a saber-toothed tiger, and an emotional threat, like a sharp comment from your partner. It reacts the exact same way to both. Get ready to fight for your life, or get ready to run. Okay, so how does that switch actually get flipped? Let's dive into the fascinating science of what's happening under the hood. So think of your body's stress system like a car. You've got two main parts. First is the parasympathetic system. This is your brake. It's your rest and digest mode, keeping you calm and running smoothly. But when your brain senses a threat, the sympathetic system kicks in. That's your accelerator. It slams the gas pedal down hard for fight or flight. And when you're flooded, that accelerator is pushed all the way to the floor. And this all boils down to one magic, or maybe not so magic number: 100 beats per minute. For most of us, once our heart rate crosses that line during a conflict, that's it. You are officially flooded. Your rational brain is no longer driving the car. Your survival brain has grabbed the wheel. All right, so your body's gone haywire. What does that actually do to your mind? What's the psychological fallout from this physical state? I mean, when flooding hits, your body is in full-blown crisis mode. It starts shutting down blood flow to non-essential stuff like your digestive system. I mean, who needs to digest lunch when you're fighting for your life, right? It floods your system with adrenaline and cortisol, dumps a ton of sugar into your bloodstream for fast energy, and even makes your blood clot faster just in case you get wounded. Your body is literally preparing for war. And look, this isn't just a theory. A fascinating study on newlyweds found that the couples who ended up divorcing years later had adrenaline levels that were 24% higher during arguments than the couples who stayed married. That constant state of high alert is just so damaging to a relationship over time. So let's be real. Does any of this sound familiar? That physical storm of stress hormones is exactly what causes all this. You feel totally overwhelmed. Your sense of humor? Gone. You can't think straight. Your hearing even gets worse as this tunnel vision kicks in. And worst of all, you start to see your partner not as your teammate, but as the enemy. Empathy is just impossible in this state. You're just trying to survive. And what this does is it turns the conversation into a zero-sum game, a battle. There can only be one winner and one loser. The goal isn't connection or understanding anymore. The only goal is self-preservation. And your partner just became the obstacle. Okay, I know that all sounds pretty bleak, right? But here is the really, really good news. Flooding is manageable. You are not doomed to this cycle. So let's talk about the solution, the way out. So how do you actually know when to hit pause? Well, here's a super practical idea. Use a pulse oximeter. They're cheap. You can get one at any pharmacy. When you're having a tough talk, you can both just put one on your finger. The second one of you hits 100 beats per minute, that's the signal. Time out. The data doesn't argue. It takes all the guesswork and defensiveness out of it. All right, so you've called a timeout. How long does it need to be? The research on this is crystal clear. You need a bare minimum of 30 minutes. Why? Because that's how long it actually takes for those stress hormones, the adrenaline and cortisol, to wash out of your system so your body can physically calm down. Any less, and you're just jumping right back into the fire. But here's the catch. It has to be a real break, and there are rules.
Rule 1, you stop talking. Immediately. No last word. Rule 2, physically separate. Go to different rooms. And Rule 3, and this is the absolute golden rule, you cannot ruminate. Don't sit there stewing, replaying the argument, building your case. That just keeps the stress factory running. You have to actively do something else, something calming and distracting. Okay, so that timeout is an absolute lifesaver in the moment. But what about the long game? How do you get to a place where you're just less likely to get flooded to begin with? Well, the answer is in something called vagal tone. Remember that vagus nerve, your body's physiological brake pedal? Vagal tone is basically a measure of how good your brakes are. If you have high vagal tone, you are way more resilient. You don't get triggered as easily, and when you do, you calm down much faster. It's kind of like emotional fitness. And the coolest part? This isn't something you're just born with. You can actually train it, you can strengthen it. There are even biofeedback devices that give you real-time data on your body. By doing things like slow, mindful breathing while you're using one, you can literally watch how your breath calms your nervous system down and actively build a stronger inner brake over time. I really want this to sink in. You are not stuck. This is not some fixed part of your personality. You can physically build a stronger internal braking system. You can make yourself more resilient to stress. You can actually change your biological response to conflict. Look, understanding the science behind flooding is more than just interesting trivia. It's a superpower. It takes all the blame and the shame out of these horrible fights and replaces it with a biological roadmap. It shows us that the answer isn't just to try harder, but to work smarter with our own bodies. So the real question is, now that you know this, how will you change the conversation?